Okay folks, so we are now at St Thomas's Hospital, and one of the reasons why we're here basically is because when I first came to London, as I'm documenting my journey from Manchester and the streets of Manchester to the streets of London, so basically when I first came to London, this is where I headed to. Now, we was at Euston train station about 30 minutes ago, thereabouts, maybe a bit longer, and whilst we were there, I was saying that I didn't really know London, which I didn't, but I had been to London a couple of times before, and one of those times was when I actually came to this hospital onto the dermatology ward, basically because of my skin. I mean, I don't know if you notice, but I've got these patches and it's psoriasis. I don't know if many people know what that is, but basically it's a skin complaint that I've had for years. It's not contagious or anything, but you know, I've had it for many years. And anyway, this is one of the places where it got treated. And anyway, like I say, when I first came to London, I come out of the Euston train station, and to be perfectly honest, I cannot remember for the life of me how I got here, you know, from Euston train station. I mean, and I don't mean today. I know how I got here today, but back then, as I say, I didn't really know London at all. And you know, the thing is that, as I say, I got down here, you know, got to the Euston train station, and I honestly couldn't tell you how long, whether I was like, it took me a day to get down here, or you know, a few hours, whatever. I have no idea. I can't honestly remember. But what I do know is that I eventually ended up here because even though I was on the ward for 3 weeks and didn't really, excuse me, I didn't really leave the hospital apart from maybe to sit in the garden there and have a fag or whatever. But other than that, I didn't really leave the area, you know what I mean? So, although that said, like I say, it was a familiar place. So basically, somehow I got myself down here to this part of London because it was, you know, like I say, it was fairly familiar to me, and it was only in recent time that I'd been there. So, because like I say, I was 2003 when I came here. It was 2000 when I was on the ward here. So. Anyway, as I say, thing is that I eventually based myself here for about the next 18 months. I lived around this sort of general area. There was a couple of places, and I'll take you to them shortly, of where I actually slept. But I based myself roughly around here, and I went over Westminster Bridge there. Well, that's Westminster Bridge. Yeah, I'll show it you a bit later on. Westminster Bridge there. And occasionally I'd go over that side of the water. Sometimes I'd mostly stay over here because this is where a lot of the homeless actually, well, they did. I mean, you don't see them so much these days, actually, funny enough, around here. Again, maybe they're trying to clear the area up or something, I don't know. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now, and I'll take you to the next spot. The reason why I'm hesitating in a minute is because I'm just trying to think. There's so many different places and things that I can talk about in this area, and just in 18 months, you know, it's quite incredible, really. A lot of stories, some quite heartbreaking in some ways, but anyway, like I say, I'll leave it there for now, and we'll do another one shortly. Okay, so we're outside St Thomas's, at the back of St Thomas's right now, and basically this was another area where I used to sleep. Now, you know, I don't know if you can see, but round about sort of that area there, tip on the benches sometimes, and also in this little sort of garden area here. It was pretty horrendous at night time, actually. Used to have a few nightmares, I tell you. But you know, in the winter time it was really horrible. I mean, it wasn't very sheltered from the elements and that. So anyway, let me just show you the little garden area, and you can see there's a little sort of garden area down there, and like I say, you know, during the day it's quite a pleasant little place, but at night time it's not so nice. But it was somewhere to keep You didn't get many people, just got lots of rats. Because I don't know if you can see, but just over there is the House of the Parliament and the Thames. So, like I say, you got a lot of rats in this area at night time, particularly early hours of the morning. You wouldn't believe. Anyway, right, I'm going to carry on down there and show you the main place where I used to kip. Okay, I'll catch you in a bit. Right, so we're heading down here, and this is another little sort of, I don't know what you call it, little walkway where I used to connect different parts to where I slept. So we're going to go down there, and go around the corner, and I'll show you some of the places I used to sleep in. So this is where we're going now. Okay, seems to be a bit of a theme with my homeless documentary thing at the moment. Most of the places where I slept seem to have been fenced off these days. But anyway, this, when I was in London and when I was at the back of St Thomas's Hospital here, this is where we are now. I don't know if you can see or how well you can see into that room. I mean, now as you can see, or you may be able to see, that it's a storage for bikes, presumably of the doctors and nurses that work here, or whatever, the people that work here. But as I say, they've now turned it into a bike shed thing. But I don't know if you can see much of the detail in there. But like I say, I used to sleep in there. I can't remember how I came across this place. I just, you know, typical wandering around, being nosy and all the rest of it. And you know, and this room was full at first. When I first came into it, there was actually, sorry, excuse me, there was actually loads of boating gear, you know, canoes, paddles, even oxygen tanks, like for diving and stuff like that. All sorts of paraphernalia were in this room, and there was like wooden shelves, and there was also like sails from sailing boats and stuff like that. And I sort of made myself a nest, sleeping in that for a little while, and then I left for a couple of months or weeks or whatever. And when I came back, it was empty. They'd emptied it. It was just a bare concrete room. And basically, I mean, these are like metal concertina doors, and these concertina doors were sort of like slightly ajar, and they weren't in this configuration either. Funny enough, they've changed the configuration of it because the doors used to go parallel here. You know, where I'm standing now, they used to go along here to this thing here. But obviously they've changed it so that it fits what they've done with it. You can see and it looks like an RSJ, whatever you want to call it, steel beam up the top there, which they've then put the other side of the concertina doors on here. But anyway, the thing is, like I say, I came back here, it was empty, and I started living in here again. I can't remember how long, to be quite honest, but believe you me, I soon made the place very uninhabitable, to be quite honest, because like I say, my mental health was deteriorating rapidly. I wasn't eating properly, I was constantly drinking, you know, I was almost in psychosis half the time, or psychotic even, whatever. And the thing is, like I say, you know, I would defecate in there, the room, I would go around the edges of the room, and I'm sorry to be graphic about it, but you know, this is the reality of my life back then. And I used to poo in the corners, and you know, just leave it there, you know, and that's how I was living. And the amount of bottles, you know, and beer cans and what have you that piled up, and the odd little snack when I did buy food, which was very rarely, because obviously whatever money I did manage to get would go on booze. That was my priority. But like I say, thing is that, you know, the rubbish just built up and built up, and the place just got worse and worse over time. But obviously at the time I didn't care. Do you know what I mean? It was, well, it's not warm, but it was a damn sight warmer than being actually out in the elements. And also the thing is that it was sheltered from the rain, and not really. In fact, if I think about it, the only people that ever came down here was when the police or the fire brigade came once, because I set a can on fire, and it set some fire alarm off, which I had no idea was about where that was. And anyway, so like I say, apart from that, nobody else ever came. So again, it was out of the way, and it kept me relatively safe. So yeah, that was that part of my life, and it was one of the, like I say, it was one of the main places that I would stay, and you know, like I say, because at the end of the day, it, you know, kept me warm and dry, reasonably safe, and you know, it was a base in some respects, so that I could get up in, well, I didn't get up in the mornings usually afternoon, and then go and wander and go and forage and see what I could get for, in terms of booze and whatever. So that was the main place when I was in this area in Waterloo, St Thomas's, for around about 18 months before I ended up getting hospitalised eventually. But anyway, there's a couple of other places that I want to try and take us to, and so we'll go and check them out, and we'll see how we get on from there. Okay, cheers. Right, whilst I remember, I forgot to sort of show how I got here in the first place. I just started filming straight down there. Now the thing is, this is a little sort of corridor type thing, if you want to call it that. Little, I don't know what you call it, alleyway, corridor, whatever, in between. Now this is a brand new building. This is the bottom of it. This is the maternity department of St Thomas's. That was being built when I used to come down here. That was in the processes of being built at the time. Obviously it's now finished, because we're talking like 2003, whatever it was, 2003, 2004. Sorry. So anyway, like I say, this is how I used to get into this place. I used to come down this little alleyway here, in between what was then a building site, which is now the maternity ward, and like I say, I used to come down here in the mornings, in the evening, and that's how I would get into my little den, if you like to call it that.